Hi guys, Jen here with Astrology and Earth Magic. So today I want to talk about the new moon in Sagittarius that's coming up on the 19th. So this is a little bit early, I'll explain why. And that is going to be at 28 degrees and 24 minutes of Sagittarius. So got a little while. So today is actually the full moon in Gemini. This waxing phase, we're gonna go down and then we will have that new moon. And Sagittarius is that fire sign. So this is about really letting your inner fire burn and motivate you. So this new moon is really a motivating new moon, and it's a learning new moon. Like almost it's teaching us. I think with a lot of the things and aspects that are associated with it. So Sag is always looking for the next best thing. They are probably the least complacent of all. It's the least complacent of all the signs. It's a fire sign. It does not allow you to just be stagnant. Everything is a stepping stone to something bigger. So say you get another job, say you get another home, say you get something else. You're always looking for something bigger and better, and you're trying to kind of always improve on that. And of course, it's a lot more fun. It's a very fun sign. So this time of year, it is Sagittarius season. So this time of year is a very Sag time. So we have Thanksgiving, which is fun and family, and then it's just all the getting ready for Christmas season and Yule season. So where we have the Christmas parties and all those festivities and fun shopping and just kind of getting out and then seeing the first snowflakes, decorating, just doing all those fun things. And that's kind of like the season that we're in right now. And it's just like so much going on and you're not sitting still. And that is so Sag because it's never like a still. It's always on the go. So really, no matter how much of a bahamyug you are or how, just kind of tired you are, we all have Sag somewhere in our charts. So you want to find that place where it falls in your chart. And that's pretty much the area where you're going to lean on going bigger and better with this new moon. So Sag is also loaded up on this day. So this on the 19th, when we have this new moon, it will also has the sun and moon conjunction, of course. That's the new moon, and they are at the 28th degree, so nearing that end degree, and that's kind of nearing that. I would call it like a desperation point or a critical point where you feel like I got to get things done. And I know a lot of us feel like that this time of year. I know it's not even the new moon yet, but I am like kind of like, I know I have to do things. I know I have to keep shopping, but I'm just kind of putting things on the back burner and I'll do that. So I got to do this. And then, work's crazy and all this stuff's coming up, but it's going to get to that point as we get closer to that new moon. And of course, closer to the holiday season when we start getting into panic mode. So it's falling at the perfect time and at the perfect degree, right at that last the 28th degree, not the last degree. So this is, in Sag, we also have at this time Juno at 26 degrees and Venus at 24 degrees. So they're in a conjunction as well. Mercury's kind of trailing behind at 10 degrees. Juno and Venus conjunct is very much about relationships. And I don't mean just the normal relationships like friendships and work relationships like you have with Venus, but with Juno, it's more of like your partnership, like a marriage partner, a committed relationship. So this is more like marriages and just really like a partnership that's, really solid, that, going steady or whatever, kids call it these days. So this is going to be a very key thing also going on at this time. Now, all those planets, we have that stellium, so we have 5. Juno's not a planet, but we still have 5 in Sagittarius. So all are going to be in a square with Saturn and Neptune. So this is kind of like realizing that we are kind of unable to distinguish facts from fiction. And when I mean realizing that, it's like, I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore. You know, you're kind of going to be thinking that, and it's like, you know, could this possibly be true? And that's kind of why I'm putting that out now, because I think a lot's coming down the pike that is going to prepare us for that type of thinking, that kind of like mind blown, like, okay, I never imagined that, and now that's a thing. And so, you know, I have to kind of change my thought process about whatever, you know, that is that comes down. So, you know, this could be about, you know, yourself too, and just you want that serious relationship, you know, because of this square. You're confused, but you also just want that dreaminess. You want that ideal life. You want that, you know, that Neptune-y, seeing everything on the positive, seeing everything in that rose-colored glasses type. Just kind of just feeling that giddiness in a relationship that, you know, maybe you don't always have, and maybe you don't always, but like having butterflies every time you see them, and just having that great feeling, but also feeling secure. So you might be, you know, not feeling that. So you might be just a little bit confused and not really sure exactly where you stand. And that could be some of the questions that are going on. And that's what that square is going to do. So this is happening. So this new moon is one day after, and I've been talking about this a lot, but I'm kind of obsessed. One day after 3I Atlas, that is that comet, after it makes its closest approach to the Earth, which is going to be on the 18th. So what information could this be bringing us? So will it fly right past and just go right out of our solar system or our galaxy, leaving us with so many questions like, where did this come from? Where did it go? Where's it going? Is it coming back? So I noticed in the past couple years, the government keeps like leaking little tidbits of information. And I noticed this actually starting around the time of COVID, that things would come out and it's just like, oh, look over here, aliens. Oh, look over here, aliens, kind of to distract. But people just had so much of a focus on anything else that it's like, wait, did they just say aliens? But I just saw an interview with Marco Rubio that he was saying that they may have recovered alien technology. I mean, he didn't quite say that. He kind of tiptoed around it, but, you know, he's tight-lipped, but reportedly believes that the U.S. has acquired this technology, from piecing together what the interview was. Anyway, so these are different things that I've been reading about, that we may have knowledge of this technology. So that is kind of a thing that could blow your mind and blow your whole way of thinking when it comes to, okay, you know, I thought this alien stuff was a bunch of crap, like the same as like, you know, maybe Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot. You know, maybe you believe in them, maybe you don't. Maybe you think it's just a bunch of, you know, stuff. But something is coming out that this is actually like reality, and this is something that we're going to have to deal with, that like this is a real thing, and it's not just a bunch of just wackos. These are credible people that are coming out with accounts of this. So makes me wonder, and this is why I'm doing this video a little bit early, and makes me wonder, are these disclosures alerting us and preparing us for what could be coming? Maybe with the 3I Atlas, maybe it'll change our mindset, our belief system with this new moon in Sagittarius. So we're going to have to grow and cultivate our new belief system. Or it could be something entirely different. But because we have that square with Neptune and Saturn, it's kind of squaring that, okay, what are my concrete beliefs and what is like always been like a mystery. So I found it quite interesting. You know, again, is it going to completely upheave everything that we believe? Who knows? It might, but we know that there's something on the horizon that's changing and growing, and this could really be a kickoff of it, of what's going on. This Sag new moon is maybe going to be our enlightenment. Who knows? But I think that now is the time that we want to prepare ourselves. Learn everything you can. You know, read the different articles. You know, a lot of it's going to be a bunch of craziness. And even there is a chart of 3i Atlas. I was going to do a video on that. I was going to do that maybe next week after I put this one out. So we'll definitely check that out and see what kind of messages and what's going on around that with transits and whatnot as it's coming closer and closer to its closest approach to the Earth. So again, this is exactly why I wanted to put this video out a little bit early. It's a time of preparation. It's a time of really expanding your mind. So a way that I've been doing that is to just really kind of let the thoughts and the knowledge just kind of flow in a little bit. So when I go to bed, I have a crystal, a selenite, and I hold on to that and I just think to myself, okay, I'm gonna let my dreams tell me something. So I'm gonna, you know, remember my dreams, really have dreams that are talking to me, that aren't just maybe my self-conscious, but maybe it's the universe telling me something, and just being open to that, trying to remember them when I wake up. And I've been having some pretty crazy dreams. Haven't remembered a lot of them, so I'm not super good at getting right up and writing them down, but something like that, or just some kind of way of just kind of opening your mind up a little bit. And I'm not talking, you know, drugs or anything like that. I'm just calling a more spiritual way. Maybe some yoga, maybe just a extra long shavasana to really just soak everything in and open up that crown chakra a little bit. But again, so we potentially could have our minds getting blown by information that's coming out. Also could be, you know, like I've talked about with the other videos, like these Epstein files that we kind of saw kind of get brushed away. Okay, that was huge. And then everyone like stopped giving a crap about it. So, that's a little suspect, I think. You know, it makes me wonder like if they're kind of picking and choosing what they're putting out there. Or maybe there was nothing and it was all just a big hype and it's just like, oh, okay, this wasn't what I expected. And this could even come in our, you know, normal everyday lives, something that is unexpected, something that we couldn't believe. And it could have to do with relationships, of course, because we have that Venus and Juno right there. So maybe somebody that you've been seeing kind of out of the blue wants to be a lot more serious or pops the question. So around Christmas, we could see a little bit more engagements happening, or, you know, engagement rings as Christmas presents or something like that, that just puts a little more of a concrete, you know, commitment in those relationships, and something that's unexpected, something that, you know, maybe we fantasized about and then all of a sudden, whoa, and then we have to like decide, okay, is this what we really want? Because it is in a square, don't forget, with Saturn and Neptune. So because the stellium is squared to Neptune and Pisces, so Pisces is that transcendent. It's the last sign of the zodiac. This is the ending, but it's also climax because we're ending with these two planets really close to the end on their last, you know, they're making their last and final advance into Aries. And we have this full moon squaring it. So it's kind of like a jolt. So with today's full moon, today's full moon in Gemini, we could be getting some information leaked out, surprising things. This is coming off because this today is at the bendings. And So we could be getting surprise information coming out. Maybe that has to do with something that was going on back in the with the eclipses. So this would be the peak time of those eclipses because it's like at that square, and then it'll kind of culminate a little bit when we get to the eclipses at the end of February. So these two planets, Neptune and Saturn, they are pretty much the biggies that I'm watching right now anyway. They're moving slowly to come into conjunction at that first degree. And I think that's at the first degree of Aries. So they're at the moving from the last, transcending into a whole new zodiac together. These two planets that are so different from each other. One is about barriers and making walls, and the other one's about breaking down walls, dissolving barriers, and having things be a lot more fluid, where Saturn wants things a lot more concrete and not fluid. Like, this is the way it is, boom, boom, boom. And then Saturn's building and Neptune is taking down. So they're coming together to start a whole new cycle at the first degree of Aries, just opening us up again to a whole new world, really. With the last conjunction that we had with these two, that was in 1989. So if you were alive back then, I remember it quite well. We saw the walls, Saturn, the walls, which are Saturn, literally dissolving and being broken down, which is Neptune, with the fall of the Berlin Wall. Hi, say hi, Pix. We are getting really, I think, ready to embark on a new era. And anyone that remembers that, so we had the fall of the Berlin Wall, which was huge. So they had been in two different, there had been Bonn and Berlin, and one was, East Germany and one was West Germany. So, and that was the way it went. One was kind of the evil one and one was kind of like the nicer one. So those walls ended up getting torn down. Also, what happened within that time, the USSR ended up collapsing very shortly after, and then reformed again as its former Russia. And then it kind of broke apart, and then we had Ukraine becoming an independent country in 1991. So the reason I bring this up, and we're going to go way more in depth with this, but the reason I bring it up is because of this square that's going on right now, and because we're leaving today's full moon at the bendings. That means there's going to be some change. So we're gathering that information. Then the Sagittarius new moon comes along. That's where we process the information. And then, we have to relearn everything. Sagittarius is all about learning. So, and this is learning new information, maybe new things that we're going to be teaching for years to come, just like we teach about this stuff that happened back in in 89. And I remember all this, like the whole world was different after that. The USSR was like this huge force, and then it kind of went away after that. Like no one was scared of it. I was scared to death of the USSR in the 80s. So when that happened, it was such a relief to me. It felt like, oh my God, finally we're not in this like Cold War anymore. So it kind of ended that whole feeling, not knowing of what was going on, starting that new cycle again, which is again, now we're starting a new cycle with these two again. That could just totally be that transcendence to something completely different, and transform the way we think, the things that we fear, the things that we love, that type of thing. So I found it interesting also that, this things that happen with Russia within these times. And, so with the cycle coming to a close and these two are at war with each other. So, just kind of makes you wonder how that's all going to end. And I think that there is going to be some kind of ending or finality around that time. But we got a little while to go before that. I'm going to do a whole nother video on that. We're talking about this right now. So that's getting kind of ahead. But today, again, is the day of the full moon in Gemini. So we're just kind of going to go with the flow and just kind of open our minds up and get mentally prepared for what's coming. So, for the next couple weeks, the theme about the eclipse season, as we went through in that past September, think about where you were and what you were doing. Again, I always, especially during times of big transits like that, and big, kind of astrological events, that you write things down and what's going on so that you can look back and see how that's kind of changing. So again, the full moon's at the bendings. It's resulting, until about the end of February to early March. So, but with the Sag new moon, we are going to teach what we've learned from this. So the Gemini is all about learning, is all about digging deep, and then we are going to then pass that knowledge along. So I would expect, even if it's not aliens, I think it is though, I don't know. But even if it's not aliens, I think, things like, maybe the Epstein report again, different things like that. I think we're going to find out a lot more, and we're right now just in that gathering stage. And now, okay, so we have the information. So the Epstein report's out, we got it. Say that's what it is, for instance. And now we have to wane down to the new moon with that information and how we're going to process what we learned from it. And this could be any information in your own personal life, something that you might have learned, something in your work life. Really, it all depends on where this falls in your chart. So we have the ruler of this new moon in, so it's Sagittarius, so the ruler would be Jupiter, and Jupiter is in Cancer. And so at this time, Jupiter is trine to Saturn and Neptune. So, okay, so that gives us a little bit more positivity added in here. So something kind of along the lines of like, this is going to be big. Jupiter likes to blow things up. It's big, and it's, something big and something, that's really going to blow up a lot. But, blowing up reality to what was once imaginary. So that is that trine. So maybe, if you've watched my other videos about Jupiter in Cancer, it's about coming together after tragedy, or after, just coming together and uniting. So it's like a big, and I've explained it like just a big, like a worldwide hug, like a big family hug with like everybody in there. And that's what Jupiter's doing. It's like giving it the biggest hug and just really bringing us together, like it did after a 9/11, where it brought everything together. And so that's really positive. And I think whatever does happen, whatever kind of mind-blowing things or whatever shocking things we have, even if it's just in our personal lives, we'll have a big support system to kind of, gather us up in their arms. So if if it is a relationship and it's something that doesn't work out, or anything that doesn't work out in your life, something bad happens, bad stuff happens all the time. You find out maybe a loved one is sick, because this is in Pisces, and maybe, something happens that way. You're going to have a big support system around you, just giving you like a big hug, like a big support. So people are going to come together a little bit more over these tragedies. So, if you lose somebody in your personal life, somebody close to you, things will come together. People will support you and kind of lift you up and make you feel better. So, so maybe, as a nation, as a, global people, we will grow together like we have in the past with this Jupiter in Cancer, just coming together after tragedy. So it's kind of bringing in the positive. So let me know what you think in the comments. Anything you want, and you're crazy about this alien thing. Only gonna have about another month of it, because then we'll know. So just kind of feeling it out. Well, until I would say February, when that conjunction comes together and that Saturn Neptune comes together. So I'm kind of giving it till then. So you gotta bear with me, because keep an open mind. Let that mind be open to it, because you just never know. So let me know what y'all think in the comments. We got lots of fun videos coming up as well, so definitely stay tuned for those, and get that notification bell, hit that, and also hit that subscribe. That's coming up, I think think it's on this side. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. Lots of fun things coming up, and I will see y'all soon. Enjoy your full moon today, guys. Bye-bye.